Hi, my name's Karina Walter, and welcome to the Standard Newsroom. I'm here with Walter Sendzik for our monthly chat with the mayor. Welcome, Walter.
Thanks for having me back. Greatly appreciate it.
You look a little different today than the last chat that we
I've
had.
I've lost some weight.
Oh, okay. There's something else about you, something a little bit different.
Yes, I have some beard going on here, and it's in support of the Walker Cancer Care Center here in St. Catharines, and it was part of an auction that we did as part of the mayor's golf tournament. And so Tom Rankin generously donated $5,500 for me to extend the growth of my beard for the next 11 weeks. So as of Thanksgiving, I will look like one of the pilgrims that came over on the Mayflower, and I will have a nice bushy beard, and that'll be in support of, and again, it goes to the Walker Cancer Care Center and also in honor of Gord Downey from the Tragically Hip. So it's for a good cause, and it's itchy.
Have you ever had a beard before?
No.
You've never owned?
No, this is, and it was interesting because I've noticed how gray I've gotten. So either it's the job I'm currently in that's caused it to go gray, or it's just the years are quickly going by. Either or, I was surprised at how much salt and pepper's in that.
And what did the money from the golf tournament go towards?
So the overall golf tournament was being directed to the Hotel du Shaver Rehabilitation Center this year, and the Pastone Children's Mental Health. So we made a commitment over 2 years of $100,000, $50,000 to each facility, and we've hit that target this year with our tournament. And so the funds are going to be put to good use at some very important facilities, healthcare and mental health facilities in our community.
You said that the beard is, just going back to the beard again, that it is in honor of Gord Downey.
Yep.
And we found out yesterday that the city is going to be broadcasting the last
Yes.
Tragically Hip concert at the Meridian Center.
So on August 20th, it's the last show from Kingston. CBC is going to cover it nationwide. And so a number of cities have negotiated the rights to carry it live broadcast. And we are one of those cities. And so it's going to be at the Meridian Center. It's free tickets, limit of 4 tickets per person. And the Jumbotron will be brought down to eye level at the center of the city. And so it's going to be a good opportunity for us.
They were telling me at the Meridian Center that it's important too for people to actually get their tickets ahead of time so that they know what their traffic should be that night.
It's not like it's not like a walk-up. They need to know the numbers. There's obviously 5,000 tickets will be made available. It's a unique once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to join in this national celebration of the Tragically Hip. And they're going to be collecting donations for the Canadian Cancer Society, and the Niagara branch here will get it, as well as we're looking to work with the Canadian Cancer Society to see if those funds can be directed towards those who are going through chemo treatment at the Walker Cancer Care Center, where they could help pay for the parking, because if you're doing chemo 3 times a week, the parking does add up. In terms of, and there is no reimbursement for the parking at the Niagara Health Center. So we're working with them, and hopefully that'll be a good way to help those who are struggling with cancer, fighting cancer, that they'll be able to get some of those costs offset as well. So Councillor Matt Harris brought that up, and we're working with the Canadian Cancer Society in Niagara to direct those funds to the appropriate location.
I wanted to ask you about some of the other things you've been up to this week, and one of them I understand was a meeting with NRP Chief Jeff McGuire about Queenston Street. What were some of the issues that you discussed?
Well, the meeting came about because as I was away for the last couple of weeks, there was an issue that had arisen in Queenston Street. The NRP had gone in and made a number of arrests for individuals that were cited with violations related to the solicitation of sex in the public realm. And it got coverage in the Standard, and a lot of individuals wrote into my office, called my office. There was Facebook posts about how is this lined up with the Compassionate City, and what is this doing to help those women who are struggling and caught in a vicious cycle, and maybe using the trade of sex to supplant funds for an addiction or mental health issues. And so it was something that immediately upon my return, we set up a meeting with Jeff McGuire, Chief of Police, and Chief McGuire came in, and we talked about why the sweep took place, in terms of the optics of it, and to get a better understanding of their approach. And one of the interesting aspects of it is the chief of police did mention that what I think you'll be learning more about publicly is that when the women were arrested, they weren't put into jail, they were immediately put into a diversion program. So the Niagara Public Health, members of the Niagara Public Health Agency came in, support workers came in, and it was an opportunity for the women who were arrested to get support in that area. So that for us is, I didn't know that. And so that was a learning experience for myself. But we talked about it appeared to be very heavy-handed. There was issues associated with how it was covered. You know, there were Johns that were arrested, not as many as those who as there were women, and Johns are the men who are the supply for they're creating the supply for the women in terms of the purchasing of sex. And so we want to make sure that this isn't about marginalizing women. This is about making sure that the supports are there, that we're working with the service agencies in the Queenston Street area, working with the NRP to make sure that we're not trying to just put a Band-Aid on an issue. We're actually getting to the root causes. And Chief McGuire was in agreement. Like he did say we have a job to do, but we can learn from this experience. And so the silver lining, and I don't like to use that term too loosely, but the positive outcome of this is that it did show that, one, Compassionate City building is on a lot of people's radar. The number of people who referenced Compassionate City and the number of agencies that came forward and said, this is not how you break the cycle of poverty. This is not how you help people with mental health issues and addictions issues. We've got to look at it in a different lens. So it shows that there's more community awareness, and that's a positive that I take away from this. And in the end, we all have something to learn from this, and I've learned from it, and I think Chief McGuire's learned from it, and I think you're going to see more positive results moving forward.
There's obviously a lot of businesses and residents who live in that area who are unhappy with some of the things that they've seen as well, though. I mean, is it hard to strike a balance between that compassionate city and keeping the residents and the businesses also happy and feeling like they're safe?
And I'll be clear, we had the owner of Super Plaque, Murray Scott, who's a great guy. We had some residents who came and were part of the Queenston Street meeting with the agencies, with the NRP, and this was before the police did the sweep. And so we all agreed that we have to look at this from different angles. This can't be a one-size-fits-all. This can't be, here's the solution, it's the only solution. So the businesses realize that it's not just about, and Murray Scott made a great point. He goes, I've seen sweeps before, and what it'll do is for 3 months, it'll quote, clean it up, and I don't like to use that phrase, but it'll clean it up, but then 3 months later, it's back. Let's start breaking the cycles, and he was in agreement. And I think the people in the community want to see the cycles broken, not pushed aside. We don't want to sweep anyone to the sides. It's not about marginalization. And what I get frustrated with, Karina, is that when people talk about, well, this is about gentrification, it's about revitalization, so you're trying to push people to the edges. That's not what this is about. We just don't want to leave anybody behind. So there's no reason why in lifting up Queenston Street, we can't lift everybody up at the same time.
So there's going to be some more meetings with the chief and some of these groups in the future?
Oh, they've already met. I got a nice note from an individual who's part of an outreach program in the Queenston Street area, and the NRP has already reached out to them, talked to them about the diversion programs, and has committed to working with them moving forward. So the public sees sort of what happened, and then there's so many moving parts behind it, and it's the moving parts behind it that become really critical at this point in time, so that we don't lose the momentum of the urgency to help those who are needing it the most. I think there's a lot of positive outcomes that will result from this, and it's an opportunity for everyone to have learned from it. So, it was frustrating me being away. I couldn't participate right away, but now that I'm back and we're working full steam ahead, I think things will start to. I think we're going to see some good results.
I wanted to ask you some of our reader questions, and we have a few from Robin Chiera. She's wondering about controlling street parking and property standards in the South End. She's asking you to save neighborhoods before it's too late for families.
And it's a great question, Robin. One of those issues that continuously comes up in the South End, and it's, for those of you who may not be aware, it's related to student housing in the area, and they have, when you have a house that's been converted and you have 5 or 6 students living there, that means 5 or 6 potential cars are parked there, and you get parking issues. I think one of the things we're going to be able to monitor this year is that we have the opening of the Pantera properties in downtown St. Catharines. Close to 600 students will be living in our downtown core, and we're going to monitor to see how that pulls students out of maybe the south end of St. Catharines who want to live in a more urban environment, as well as the lofts up on top by Brock University, which has pulled a lot of the people out of both Thorold community areas and South St. Catharines. So I think you're going to see more, I'm predicting you may see more vacancies in the South St. Catharines area, and you may even see more for sale signs as the property owners realize that the rental market is going to dry up for students, or it's going to get smaller, and they're going to see an opportunity where they'll maximize the value of the property, sell the house, hopefully back to a family, and you'll get more of that neighborhood family building again.
Another question is about panhandling. Why are we allowing panhandling on Glendale Avenue exits of the 406? And we've
So that was
dealt
a
with
question.
this a lot.
Yeah, that was a question that was asked previously, and what we did was, upon that question being received, we worked with the NRP and the OPP. The Ministry of Transportation says that on ramps and off ramps, it is illegal to panhandle, and it's illegal because it's a safety issue. There's a considerable amount of traffic that builds up in those areas. And so upon notification, both the OPP and the NRP committed to ensuring that when they saw individuals that were at these on and off ramps at these intersections, they would be encouraged to move on, and if not, they can be cited with a violation. So we took that seriously, and it is a safety issue, and so hopefully over time you'll see that, again, stopped, and it's primarily for the safety of the individual and the safety of the drivers.
Another traffic question is dealing with the
I love
crazy.
traffic.
Yeah, a lot of people have questions about it. The crazy intersection, the QW underpass at Geneva Street. There were some.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, not at all. My Fairview Mall there.
Oh, okay.
The region had come up with some ideas on how to make traffic flow a little better, or they think it would. It went to a committee at the region. They have decided not to go ahead with all of those. I don't think.
Public Works did, yes.
Yeah, they didn't go ahead with all of the changes.
Right.
Don't think you were too happy about that. But
Well, I don't know if it would be framed in the happy or unhappy. It's more of a concern in that we had expert opinion. So they had worked on this for 2 years. So from a public's perspective, you have experts in these fields who study traffic patterns, had worked on this for 2 years on an issue that has been a thorn in the side of people moving around our city for a generation. And they came up with what they thought was the best model. They worked with city staff. They worked with city council. I know Councillor Britton met with the staff. I know I met with the staff. I had ideas that I had presented. And in each case, they said, okay, if we do this, this is what's going to happen. If we do this, so they were able to, in a empirical way, data-driven way, show why you can't do this and you can't do that. So I was satisfied that they had done their work. This was a due diligence process. And when council considered it at city, they looked at it and they said, okay, the city's portion of what you're planning to do is great. The region, there was a vote that was defeated where Councillor Britton wanted to delay it, which signaled to the region, okay, they're fine with the program as moves forward. And then when it got to the region, there was some backroom politics that took place, and it was overturned. The frustration is that when you look at the volume of traffic coming into what is the church there, and the church has been there for a long period of time, but it's no longer just a Sunday church. They have activities throughout the week, and that was the letter that they had sent to council, was look at all the events that we have taking place at this church throughout the week, which validated the regional staff's opinion when it looks at the data of turning left that then backs up the traffic under the overpass, is the fact that you have so much activity taking place at the church, and that area then creates the backup where people can't get into a very small space under the overpass that then just continues to back up all the traffic going on to Carlton, Geneva, and the North Service Road. So when you put it in the holistic perspective of how traffic moves in that area, the region's model is the best model moving forward. And unfortunately for those in our community that get frustrated at that intersection, yet again, you take a tin can and you kick it down the road. So it's kind of frustrating, but I think from the public's perspective, they've got to speak up and they've got to be able to say, look, if the experts are saying this is the best model, and you've probed them with questions and they've been able to answer those questions, at certain points we have to accept staff's recommendation. And hopefully at Regional Council on September 15th, that the Regional Council will accept the staff opinion, but we'll see.
Well, to be fair, the church wasn't too happy about some of the changes.
Well, that's why they wrote the letter. But in the writing of the letter of how much the church is used, it actually does validate having a non-left turning lane in that area because of how many more people are using the church. And to get to the church, we've made modifications that allow them to turn left further up and then come around in a more circular fashion. And hopefully that would be able to offset any inconvenience that they may have. So it's a challenge. Anytime you make a shift of this nature, you're going to have people who aren't going to be happy with the decisions that we make. But if we always defaulted to those who were the loudest dissenters, you wouldn't get anything built in the city. And that's not to devalue what the church was saying, but it's not just a Sunday church anymore. It's a church that operates 7 days a week, and they operate a lot of events out of that facility. And for those who are familiar with the intersection, it's right on the corner, which means a lot of people will be turning left to get into their parking lot.
I think everybody can agree there's a problem with the intersection. What the solution is, maybe everybody's on different pages, but it's a crazy intersection. Appreciate you coming in again.
No problem. I was going to bring my cat, but I left it at home.
Is it licensed?
I don't have to license it yet because council decided not to have to go with licenses. So I get a free pass on not licensing my cat. But I do have a licensed dog. My cat gets to roam free without a license.
Thanks for joining us.